Hello and welcome to episode 39 of GameSpot After Dark, GameSpot's official video game podcast. I'm your host, Jake Decker, and joining me this week is Lucy James.
Hello.
Jean-Luc Seipke.
Hi.
And Callie Plaguey.
Hello.
How's everyone doing? Did y'all enjoy that Ubisoft live stream?
I mean, I love Boss Logic, but that stream was 8 hours long? So
it was very long.
But and everyone knew the reveal too, like the time period and stuff, so it was kind of like, well, this is cool. I like seeing this happen, but I know what they're building to.
Yeah, I mean, I feel awful. I didn't watch the entire stream, but I did watch Ubisoft release that time-lapse of it after, so I was like, I'm just gonna watch the time-lapse.
Yeah, that's what I did. I was like, I'll watch the time-lapse.
No, but Boss Logic is oh my god, he's so talented. I'm obsessed. I've followed his Instagram and his Twitter and all the collabs he's done for quite a while now. And so when they were like, oh, we're going to do a stream about Assassin's Creed, his name being attached, I was like, okay, yeah, that's going to be cool. I'm into it.
Yeah, that was a pretty neat idea. It's cool they reached out and did something like that as opposed to just your typical, I don't know, press release, reveal trailer sort of deal. Although I guess they do have a trailer coming, right?
Well, so by the time this goes out, the trailer will be out. It's your Blur Studios classic CGI reveal trailer. So I don't know when we're going to get gameplay for Valhalla, but CGI trailer looks really cool. I think they always do a really good job with those. The main guy, I think his name's Ivor, looks a hell of a lot like Charlie Hunnam. But he had a way better accent. I can't talk. My accent is all over the place. It's terrible. But the Charlie Hunnam's accent, because he's actually from where I'm from in the UK, the north of England, in Newcastle. He actually he grew up down the road from my mum. Weird. But his accent is the most bizarre amalgamation of Geordie, Cockney, and American. And I know it's rich for me to say it, but I feel like as someone with a mangled accent, I can say it. But anyway,
I want to say that to an American, your accent sounds just like British to us.
To me, recently I have sounded American, painfully American. Sometimes I'll say something and I'll go, oh, but it's not in a bad way. It's more kind of a losing your identity way.
Lucy, when we were still in the office,
remember the office?
Right before we left the office. You walked by something and you said, "What's all this then?" So let's not talk about you being American, but I do really want to hear you full Geordie. I have yet to hear you go full Geordie, and I want to hear it.
I do actually have. I'm kind of doing it a little bit now because I've got a call with my mom and my uncles and my auntie on Saturday, so it's more I sound like this. You mispronounce every single.
I'm so happy.
It's weird because I'm trying to do it to kind of give you an example, but if I'm on the phone to my mum, it just switches. Very early on when my boyfriend and I were dating, he was playing a game or something, and my mum rang me and I answered, and he just turned around because he was like, Who are you? And what happened to my girlfriend? Yeah. But my real accent, yeah. I take in the accents of people around me. And so even usually when I get drunk, that's when it comes out. But when I'm drunk around Americans, I take on an American accent.
So that's why I haven't heard it yet.
Yeah.
I do a similar thing, but with Midwestern things. The more I talk to my Midwestern family, you get the mom, Chicago, California. It goes
I like that
so bad. Yeah, it's fun. Anyway,
should we talk video games?
If we must.
Yeah, at some point. Callie, do you want to talk about Animal Crossing, your Animal Crossing corner?
Animal Crossing corner, let's go. I have been playing, I started playing Doom, so it's not just Animal Crossing for me anymore, but it's a lot of Animal Crossing is my life. So I've just been working on helping everyone identify which paintings are forged, because Jolly Red has come, formerly Crazy Red. There's some, so in older Animal Crossing games, they were just fake at random. So you would buy a painting and it would just be fake and you'd be screwed. And then starting in New Leaf, you could actually like identify fakes by differences. But some of the fakes from New Leaf are they're different in New Horizons, and I'm so disappointed because like the scary painting, which is a Japanese like ukiyo-e print of an actor, he looks angry and he's like pointing. But in New Leaf, the fake version was doing finger guns, and they got rid of that. And then the Valiant statue, which is the winged victory of Samothrace. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like an ancient Greek statue, headless angel thing. In New Leaf, the fake version had bat wings, and I'm so disappointed that it's not like that. However, one of the cool things that's been coming out like today and yesterday is that some of the fake art is like haunted.
Yeah, I saw that in Slack, and I was like, oh god, I'm scared now. Because I would want to get a house of just the haunted art.
Exactly. So it's pretty cool. Like somebody right now, like as of Wednesday today, we haven't found it in our own games. Like we have a Slack channel where we're talking about it, and once we do find it, we'll like confirm the story. But there's like tons of tweets about it. It's not like the kind of thing that like we're like, we've seen the same thing multiple times. Not the kind of thing somebody would fake. But I saw like the graceful painting, which is Beauty looking back. It's another Japanese painting. The fake version like has a ghostly image on the back. There is an ancient Japanese statue. The fake version is like actually an alien and it like floats. Yeah, it's super cool. The creepiest one that I've seen so far is the girl with the pearl earring, or with a pearl earring. Or is it I always forget. I'm like getting it confused with the girl with the dragon tattoo. I think it's a pearl earring. That is the wistful painting in New Horizons, and she will, if she has her eyes closed, she'll open them.
Oh, no thank you. No thank you.
So I can't wait to buy some fakes. I've been trying to buy the real ones because I'm trying to get all these images for our guide. So our guide has like real and fake ones side by side, and part of the reason that I'm so like I vet these things vigorously is because there's a lot of misinformation about Animal Crossing out there. So I like to confirm stuff myself, or confirm it as GameSpot before we put it in a guide.
Yeah, don't trust TikTok.
No,
do not
TikTok
trust
lies.
Can't trust TikTok with your Animal Crossing guides if that needed to be said.
Yeah. So we've been doing a lot of work as a team to get all these images together. But I'm a very straight shooter in Animal Crossing. I don't time travel. I play by the rules. I don't catch bugs and fish in the southern hemisphere. I'm very straight edge. Do what you want, but I'm like that. So I've been buying the real art because I want to donate it and make Blathers happy. But now I really want the haunted fake art. So.
Wait, because can you only buy one a day or one per visit?
But so you can buy, that's another thing we learned. You can buy art from Red on somebody else's island. So like he can have multiple legitimate paintings or statues per day. Because there are some that don't have a fake version. There's like Starry Night. There's no fake Starry Night. Or a twinkling painting, as it is called. And you can have a friend come and buy that other one or buy one of your fakes. You're just limited to one per day on any island. So if like I have Red and you have Red, then you can't come buy from my Red and your Red.
Right.
But like tomorrow, I have Red today. If you came and bought something and then you had Red tomorrow, I could come buy something from you. So that's nice and helpful. Yeah. I was able to get the Great Wave off Kanagawa from somebody else's island.
So what if someone has two characters on their island? So they could only buy one thing from Red between those two characters? Or could each of those characters buy one thing from Red? Because I'm very tempted to make another character and just throw them on my island just so I can double up on these events. Because right now, it seems like it's going to take a very long time to get all the paintings.
If I had to guess, I would say that multiple character, it's one per character. And the only reason I would say that is because he can have multiple legitimate paintings a day, which seems to be like a throw somebody a bone for being player 2.
Yeah,
Like,
so it's just like my character couldn't buy 2 pieces from Red, even if I went to another island, right?
right.
Okay, interesting.
So, I mean, I haven't confirmed that. I would love to know if that's true or not.
Yeah.
But that is my hunch, because if you're not the main player on an island, you kind of get screwed over. Like, you can't help Gulliver if the other player has already helped Gulliver. So if you're like the second person who gets to play for that day, you're kind of getting the short end of the stick, in my opinion. So that's why I would assume that it's per character, not per like.
Yeah. I will say I love Red and like his whole aesthetic he's got going with his boat in the back that's like sketchy and about to fall apart, and it's really dark and dimly lit, and then he just takes you back with all these prize paintings and he's like, take your pick, and then you'd have to figure, like, I genuinely really enjoy that, and I'm happy it made it back into Animal Crossing this soon. Like, I think we all knew that Red would return in some form, but I'm happy he's already here, because I don't know, like, one thing I really loved in the older Animal Crossing games is that there was always like a scummy nature to some of the characters, and I feel like they're bringing that back with Red, and I hope Lyle will come back in some form, although I think he was kind of like straightened up in New Leaf, but I do miss how he'd come to your house and try to sell you life insurance policies that were just a waste of money and wouldn't do anything, and then he'd follow you around all day.
I love his when you get the painting from him in like the email or the letter, it says like, oh, thanks for getting this, like, very legit and no refunds, by the way. Just like reminds me of
Final sale.
Grunkle Stan from the show Gravity Falls. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with that. He's like a sleazy like salesman who makes like fake like spooky stuff that like he sells to like tourists and stuff, and he has that same energy of like, you're scummy but also very charming and I love you. Do you what's the connection between him and Tom Nook? Because according to the internet,
were lovers once.
Okay, and according to the internet, they're like, they have some past beef, or maybe they used to be they're an ex-couple, and I'm like, is this just the internet making up shit, or
it's
was
the
it
internet
actually
making up shit?
They're not a couple.
Okay.
I mean, if you want, like CJ and Flick, definitely boyfriends.
I mean, I didn't think they were a couple,
Red, no.
but I was like, was there some sort of connection between them in the past games at all that this is coming from, or is it 100% fabricated?
If we ever get an Animal Crossing story mode, I really hope it focuses in on the relationship between Red and Tom Nook, because I think there's a lot there.
Hey, I mean,
apparently
they're competing salesmen. They're competitors.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe, yeah. Like,
Maybe they
one's
worked
legitimate.
together.
Yeah.
They were a partnership, and Red wanted to go
Two
do some
sides
dodgy
of
dealings.
one coin.
Dodgy dealings,
No.
and they split.
One thing that's interesting, if you haven't played Animal Crossing games before, is that he used to be Crazy Red, and now he's Jolly Red. I like the pirate rebrand. I think it fits the modern times. You know, because he could be an internet pirate as well. But I know that Nintendo has wanted to move away from the crazy branding for a while. So that's one thing that they did. And then also, like, they kind of did like a rebrand on a lot of characters, because like Flick and CJ, it's like the bimboification of the previous, like, bug off dude. They were ugly designs. Like Joan the turnip, she's rough. And they made her cute. They made Daisy Mail cute. So I think they're like, let's do a nice refresh. Let's make Red jolly instead of crazy, because that's iffy. So that's my fun fact about Red.
That makes sense. Yeah. I'm excited to play more, and I'm excited for Mayday. And of course, we'll keep you updated on all the Animal Crossing updates. But anyway, Jean-Luc, both of us have been playing this game, but do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, we were playing Final Fantasy 14 together. Are you not feeling it anymore? You're shaking your head.
No, I'm just... I have very mixed feelings about it, and I'm going to be very unhappy if these other expansions aren't as good as people tell me they are.
Oh, I'll get more
into it later.
Michael's DM is going to blow up if it doesn't pan out. Yeah,
I'm waiting for the big update in, is it July?
Yeah,
I'm going to skip all that stuff.
So what happened to me was I started the night before they announced that update, and I bought time. I was like, okay, I'm going to play this. I saw Jean-Luc playing it, and Matt was interested in playing it, and Ben said he could help us. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give this another shot. And then the next day they're like, hey, guess what? We're cutting a lot of the story, the original story. And I was like, thank God. I just bought time. This is perfect. And then I find out it's actually in July.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, my time expires by then, so I better play it now. So I am playing it now. I won't say too much, but I have fun playing with friends, but you can say that about a lot of games, but it is so dull in my opinion. I don't like the combat that much because it's very MMO-y. If you like that combat, awesome. I don't. And then the story is just like, I skip through all of it because I just don't, I have no interest in any of it. I don't want to dominate the conversation, Jean-Luc, because I'm sure you have many opinions as well, but I'll just leave it at that. Like,
I mean,
right now I am forcing myself through this thing and I hope it gets better. If it doesn't, I'm gonna beat up Michael or something.
From 6 feet away.
Yeah.
Throw things at him.
You're mostly right. I feel pretty much the same way. Like, I think the combat is pretty whatever to me. Like, especially coming off of something like Final Fantasy VII, where that combat's so good. And then it's
totally.
Like, click that button, wait for the cooldown, click the other button, and okay, now I can do this attack. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm just hitting the buttons and things are happening. And at least right now in like the early parts, like you look at raids and it's like clearly these people are coordinating on some level, but I think like early MMO combat, it feels like it doesn't matter what button I hit, like one attack versus the other. Like both of these do an attack. I don't know. Like, so I'm with you. I find MMO combat pretty dull. I'm trying to pay more attention to the story just because I know that the characters they're setting up are characters that continue into those other expansions where the story actually gets good. So I'm like at least trying to somewhat like pay attention to the characters and be like, okay, hopefully I'll have at least some idea of who these characters are when the story gets good. It is still pretty dull. What they said, they were cutting like 13% of the content, which is honestly
doesn't seem like enough.
Yeah, I mean, some of it's good. Like I've enjoyed the dungeon stuff. We did like a boss battle against Ifrit. That was pretty cool. I like the areas. Like it's fun wandering around. Like, you know, we were talking when we were playing about how like, oh, the desert area is like pretty cool, and you know, like there are elements I'm enjoying about it, but yeah, it's still a lot of being an MMO and being like, all right, I'm gonna get to this area, and then this guy's gonna be like, I need you to go pick up 5 bottles. You're like, okay, well. And I've actually been grinding even more than you, because when we started playing, we all picked DPS characters, and then we realized we can't do any of the dungeons together because you need to have 2 DPS, 1 tank, and 1 healer. And we're like, okay, well, only 2 of us can ever be in the same dungeon at the same time. So I was like, oh,
just to add in there, matchmaking for dungeons can take like 15 minutes.
Really long.
Oh my God.
Because we're only DPS, so we need a tank and a healer. And if you don't have that, you're gonna we'll sit outside of a dungeon.
Ben was a tank.
Ben joined us once, but he hasn't joined us since then. But we'll sit outside of a dungeon and we'll see all these other characters walk up that are clearly DPS too, and it's just like hey, you're here too? You're waiting for some healers, and then you see a healer come up, and then like a couple other people disappear, and you're like, well, there goes my chance of getting in that dungeon.
Because if you're playing by yourself, you're going to pick a DPS character, you know? Like, no one's going to be like, I play MMOs by myself, I'll pick the white mage. Like, no one's going to do that. The thing that I like about the game that other MMOs don't really do is that you can play multiple classes without having to remake a whole new character. Like you can just play any class regardless, but your level is tied to that class. So I said, okay, why don't I get a second class as a conjurer so that we can have a healer, and that can hopefully make it easier and we can play together. But I had to start at level 1, and I've been like slowly grinding. So I think like our main characters are level like 23, 25. My conjurer is right now at level 12, and I'm just going through like the area and finding all of the like really boring quests that we didn't do, and like doing those to like power up my second character, and I was just like, man, this is really dull.
Yeah.
I'm really tempted to buy like a level skip or something, which is not great. I don't want to do that, but also I feel like I don't want to grind out this second character just so we can play dungeons together.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, as difficult as it is for me to get into, I do like the world. I think it looks great, and it does a good job of areas not feeling too MMO-y. Like, here's your enchanted forest. Here's your, like, that's still there, but it feels like there's more character and personality to those areas, which I do like. And some of the characters I kind of like here and there. Mm-hmm. And the customization I think is great. Mm-hmm. Like seeing how people look. The only thing I will say is that I'm like level 30 something now, or no, I'm 26, I think, or 27. And I still look like a freaking NPC. I've got like a beige towel, might as well be just a beige towel over me, and like the most generic looking sword. Actually, I'd go as far to say that NPCs look cooler than me, because I've seen plenty of NPCs that I've walked up to with like just like a suit of armor, and I'm like, wow, I wonder if that'll be me one day in 20 hours or so.
And then every time you go to a main town, like the hub area has just tons of players, and they all look so cool. You're like that person's like a 9-foot tall bunny lady and with like Bayonetta looking outfit, and like, you know, they like it's just like Ben always described Final Fantasy as the DeviantArt of MMOs, and I think that's like the most apt comparison. Like everyone just looks insane, and I'm like, this is great. Like I want to look like this, and I'm yeah, like you said, I've put like, I don't know, at least 20 hours into this game at this point. I basic ass armor, and I'm just like, when do I get the
little,
cool shit?
Wood bow that looks like I could have made it in my backyard.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been interesting.
Sounds fun, you guys.
Yeah, it's
fun.
Something.
It's fun playing with Matt and Jake, but
yeah,
Jake said, I could technically have that experience with any game.
I like definitely get the social appeal to MMOs, because I've never really played an MMO, but like it is fun to just go to the hub area with your friends and like fuck around, mess around, dance, do all the other random shit people do in those kind of games. Yeah. But like when I'm like, all right, I'm going to grind some levels by myself, I'm like banging my head against my desk as I do it. It's rough.
I can never get into an MMO in that way. Like you can buy like timeshares in that game. And I'm like,
timeshares,
like a house.
You can buy a house, and you have to like pay a monthly rent to keep that house because there are limited slots, and someone else could take that house. So there was a story when
with real money.
With with or real in-game money. It might be in-game money, but basically there was a story that happened when all the COVID-19 business happened, where they had canceled rent for your in-game house because they were like, some players might not be able to log on, and we don't want them to lose their house, so we have canceled your fake in-game Final Fantasy house rent so that you can hopefully pay your real rent, because you might not be able to log in.
The Final Fantasy government is better than our own. More forgiving than our own.
Funny and also so upsetting.
It's incredibly upsetting.
God.
Well,
I'm
gonna piss off the Final Fantasy fans in this episode, I think, because I actually haven't been playing Final Fantasy VII, but I've been watching a lot of stuff, rewatching areas I've done, or areas in the game, and I still really like that game. It's still one of my favorite games of 2020. I think it's great. I think everyone should play it, but I have soured a lot on it just thinking about it. Thinking about the things I still really like, though, that I will say. I think the characters are still fantastic, and I think the combat is great. The combat is better than great, in my opinion. I loved it. But just like I'm watching scenes, and I don't like the writing. Most of the writing just lacks a lot of subtext for me. It's all just so on the nose.
Welcome to being a Kingdom Hearts fan. Because that's your Nomura bullshit that is, in my eyes, remarkably reined in. So if you take what you don't like about Final Fantasy, and I say this with love as a Kingdom Hearts fan, and just multiply it by 10. That's what Kingdom Hearts 3 was. 2, I would say, maybe it's the rose-tinted glasses, because I played it when I was so much younger, but I feel like the reins were kind of, like, he was kept on a rein for 7. Or maybe the localization was different.
And I think that's why I enjoyed it as I was playing through it. But watching scenes back and like seeing different gameplay and lines, I just like it. I find all of it so cringy and hard to listen to. And part of it may be that I am playing with the English voiceover. Like maybe that's just how that voiceover is. Maybe if I played with subs instead in Japanese, that would be much better. But it still doesn't really fix that. I think there's just like, it's lacking in so much subtext, at least between the dialogue between characters. Obviously, I think the world and how the heroes are portrayed, I think, are very good and have a lot to them. And that is super impressive. Like I said, I really like the characters. But man, it's crazy how much I've kind of soured on it. Like, and I think the big thing is the ending. Like when I won't say, no spoilers here, but when I first saw the ending, I didn't understand it. And I was like, well, it's probably because I didn't play the original and I don't know much about Final Fantasy VII. So I reached out, talked to Timur. He explained it to me and I was like, okay, that makes sense. And I just kind of went with it. And the more I've thought about it, the more I'm just like, this is so stupid. Like this ending is like absurd. And part of it too, I think might be because I did decide to play Final Fantasy VII, the original, and I got to that point, and I think I like how the original handles it more. And I think part of that is because I have to fill in way more of the blanks by myself. So it's like, I don't know. It's interesting. And like, I do want to preface, like, if you're loving Final Fantasy VII, if you really liked Final Fantasy VII Remake, like I still like it. I'm not saying you can't like it. I'm just saying personally, it's been a really weird experience because I came off so high on that game. And now the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, I don't know if I liked it as much as I thought I did.
I've had somewhat... Oh, sorry. You can go first.
I was just going to say some bullshit. Like, it's really rare because most of the time when we give opinions, we're telling you you're horrible and you shouldn't play the game. That's all I had to... Well, actually, I wanted to ask a follow-up question for a more serious thing is how did you end up liking the characters if you didn't like the dialogue? Like, what about the characters comes through, not through that kind of stuff? That's
weird, right? Because I didn't like the dialogue itself. Like, I thought it was cheesy and hard to listen to, but it's also kind of genuine. Like, it feels like, I don't know. It's really hard to explain, but I think the interactions between the characters worked so well.
How I feel about Death Stranding, where it's like some of the stuff is kind of cheesy, but it's so earnest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is worse though. I mean, worse isn't the right word, but I don't think it works as well. Maybe
we had this discussion in a Slack channel about is Final Fantasy VII Remake like super anime, and one of the things that like the anime fans in the office were arguing was that it sounds more soap opera-y than like not all anime is just like, oh my gosh, like super dramatic. It seems to be, I haven't played it yet. It sounds like it's very soap opera-ish, which has its own charms. But if you're not like used to that kind of delivery, maybe it's...
I would say the Kojima comparison is pretty apt. Like Metal Gear, I would describe more as like a soap opera with anime elements to it. So I would say Final Fantasy's like that. I'm kind of with you, Jake, in that my opinion has definitely not soured, I would say, but like thinking more about it, there are elements that I don't like as much that I were fine with at first. But then there are some stuff I still like even more. Like I do think I really like some of the character moments, some of the dialogue, the like. I think my favorite parts are when the characters are interacting with each other and their interactions are like really good. Like Aerith interacting with Cloud and like Tifa and like Barrett. Like I think that's when the game's at its best. the more I think about the ending, I do agree that it has a lot of problems. And it's like the way they handled it was, it's just kind of weird. I can't really say it without going into it, and I don't want to, but
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it, but it's one of those things where it's like what it seemed like they're trying to go with, they could have done without doing what they did, if that makes any sense. It's
Definitely.
basically my opinion on that. And I'm sort of fine with it. Like, I'm sort of like, you know what, that's fine. Like, that's the way they wanted to do it. I respect that as like a vision. I'm still very excited to see the next part.
Well, that's the thing. Like, when part 2 comes out, that's going to be a day one purchase for me, because like I said, I fell in love with those characters. I think they're all so great, and I want to see where it goes. But just like, I don't know, seeing a lot of those scenes back and like thinking about some of the sections, like the robot hand stuff, is just like, I kind of liked how the original game handled the robot hand stuff, where it was just like, there it is. I don't need to interact with it at all.
Yeah, that is maybe one of the few parts of the game where they're like, we need to fill this out to make it a longer game, because we have to sell it.
The one argument that I still really hate is when people complain that this is just a cash grab. The only reason they separated this out is just for a cash grab, because this game is 40 hours long. I think there are areas that drag and there is padding, but what game doesn't do that, especially RPGs? What RPGs don't do that? And I think like the game is predominantly pretty lean and has all the important stuff in there for you.
I 100% agree. Any game's gonna have its issues, but calling it a cash grab is so reductive and dismissive of all the hard work that went into that game. I think that's a really terrible argument I won't even like entertain.
Yeah, but anyway, Lucy, you're still playing it. How's it been treating you?
Good. I really enjoy it. I mean, I'm not at the ending yet. I'm in chapter 15.
You're close.
Yeah, so I'm close. I went past the point of no return. But I'm still enjoying it a lot. I'm going to play some more tonight. So we don't kind of talk about Final Fantasy too much. I've also still been playing Overwatch because Echo's out now. I've spent a couple weeks playing her. She's good, but God, she's powerful. She's really powerful. And she's the last hero coming to Overwatch before 2 launches. So hopefully that means it's launching this year. With like another new hero, because everyone thought it wasn't going to be Echo. Everyone thought it was going to be I don't even remember the name, but it was a character who like had appeared in a short before. I think it's like a French sounding name. I don't remember. But then Echo came out. She's great, but she's kind of high risk, high reward, because she doesn't have a very big health pool. I think she's just at 200. And so she dies super easily. But on the flip side, she has a tiny hitbox. She has a get out of jail free card that's basically her movement ability is kind of like Farah, where you can just like shoot up into the air. Her main fire is super powerful. Then she has this alt fire, which is sticky bombs that attach onto not just an enemy, but you can attach it onto a wall. So it's like you can kind of technically do area denial with lower health enemies. And then she has a beam, because of course, why shouldn't she have a beam that does like double damage to enemies if they're half health? And then on top of that, her ult is that she can turn into any member of the opposing team and gets her ult charge. I think it's like 600% faster. So,
Whoa.
Yeah, she's incredible. And I had like one game where I was absolutely destroying as her. And I was like, oh my God, I'm an Echo main now. And then the next game, I was absolutely terrible and I died all the time. So I was like, okay, Mom, back to the drawing board. But she's really fun. I just don't think, in terms of like the grander Overwatch meta as it stands right now, if she's maybe the shot in the arm that it kind of needs, I would have preferred a new tank or a new heal, but she's good. I like her a lot. I've been spending a lot of time playing as her.
Is that all everyone picks? Like when you go into a match, is it hard to get her?
First day, yes. After that, it's been fairly easy to get her. She doesn't fit all play styles, I would say. Like, I specifically don't play Genji because I'm not quick enough. And maybe that's the reason why sometimes I have really bad games as Echo. Whereas I never, humble brag, never really have a bad game as like Diva. or Moira, because I don't know, I intrinsically understand those characters a bit better. Whereas with Genji, I have no idea how Genji's ult works. And I have like 500 hours at least into Overwatch, and I cannot for the life of me play Genji. But that's it. It's my games.
All right, then. Should we move on to the news this week?
Nothing happened. What are you talking about? It's been a really quiet week.
I kind of wish nothing happened, at least for one of those stories.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll start with the Cyberpunk's first rating has been leaked. I think it was like
Brazil,
the rating in Brazil. And it is a long list of things that...
It's basically everything you would expect.
Everything you've seen on the back of a box on the mature rating or 18 plus rating is in here.
Godspeed to Australia.
I know.
Yeah.
That's going to be really interesting because it is a long rap sheet here. I won't read through it just in case people are worried about spoilers or maybe want to keep all that fresh. But one, I guess, interesting thing that happened, which shouldn't be that surprising because it's CD Projekt Red. Pavel Sasko, I think one of the creative level design or one of the lead level designers, tweeted the leak and was just like, "Yeah, well, we don't really fuck around, right?"
Classic.
And yeah, there's some like things on there that I've never actually seen on the back of a box. So it's like, all right,
Like what?
this is prostitution. Although I don't want to read too many. Although I will say, like, this is the Brazilian rating. Like, this is the in-depth one. So not all this stuff always appears on the back of a box. A lot of it is truncated into one word. Like I'm sure prostitution for our
Sexual
rating system
themes,
would fall under sexual themes.
I didn't even know this happened. I like missed this somehow. So I kind of want you to say a few of the crazy ones, but that's just me.
I kind of want to hear the crazy ones.
Me too.
Okay, well, I guess if you don't want to hear this, maybe skip ahead a little bit.
But 30 seconds.
30 seconds. All right. Hold on. I gotta find some good ones here. I mean, I already said prostitution. I think that was a pretty good one. Intentional death.
Intentional
death?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Description of illicit drug consumption or trafficking.
Okay.
Blood injury.
Blood injury.
Foul language. This is the Brazilian one, so I feel like it's translated a little weird. Consume of illicit drugs. Sexual pleasurement. I can't believe I didn't see that one first. That's definitely the...
Okay, tag yourself. I'm blood injury.
Verbal aggression. Criminal action without violence.
Okay.
Is that white collar crime? Is that what that is?
Probably. I mean, if you can play as a
insider
corpo,
trading.
right? And it makes sense. Yeah, so I mean, like I said, a lot of this stuff you won't actually see on the back of the box, but these are just like a more in-depth breakdown. None of it's really that spoilery. Like, I think a lot of this stuff, if you look through it, you should expect it in a
especially
game,
from
at
those
least what
trailers.
they've teased. Yeah. But I don't know. That's kind of interesting. And also just like it kind of, at least in my mind, hopefully reconfirms that CD Projekt Red is going to hit that release date, because
I've always
I
wanted
don't know
to
what
know
I'll do if it gets pushed.
what it's like to be the person at the ESRB, because you don't apparently play the game. They just send you like clips of the worst stuff. So you're like essentially just getting like a montage. So imagine you're like haven't played Cyberpunk and that you just get a video montage of its like
Of, like, an
worst
orgasm.
moments. Yeah, like a hard cut from like
Self-pleasurement.
to like intentional death or like
So
God.
Danny actually did Danny O'Dwyer of NoClip actually did a documentary on that.
oh really?
Yeah, I don't know if you've checked it out. It fell under, I think it was just the ESRB documentary that he did, but he went in and talked to a lot of people who do that stuff. A lot of it is confidential because they don't want people knowing the names of those people, because they don't want developers to pay people off and be like, hey, just ignore this section or whatever.
Right.
So it's pretty fascinating. Like, they take that very seriously. And one thing that they pointed out was like, not a lot of developers really try to trick them, because like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like you could just screw yourself over if you don't, and you might as well show everything that is in this game that could trigger someone. The one thing they did say was that occasionally they'll miss something, like they'll send something and forget something that they didn't think would be a problem or offensive, or something that like concerned a more stringent rating. But yeah, it's super fascinating. I definitely recommend checking it out. Anyway, any last thoughts about Cyberpunk's rating link?
I want it. I want to play it.
I know, me too. So bad. Imagine if it came out April 16th. We'd be way busier.
Oh my god. Because right now I'm trying to do Final Fantasy and Persona 5 Royal. So if you add Cyberpunk into the mix there, well, I mean, I've not got much else going on. But
Oh my god. I'm still doing Animal Crossing. I would be so screwed if Cyberpunk had come out.
Well, I don't know. To, I guess, continue on to release dates and delays and leaks, unfortunately. This is the reason why I'm sure a lot of people won't be checking the comments. At least a lot of people at GameSpot won't be checking comments on videos, won't be
don't worry, I'll
looking at
take
your
the
tweets,
bullet.
is because, yeah.
I mean,
The Last of Us 2 got leaked in its entirety.
I should say from the GameSpot YouTube and comment side, we're trying to do our best to squash people in the comments from spoiling things. So we're putting words on mute list for a while. I'm sure you can understand why. I did a news video on Monday about Ghost and Last of Us getting the new release dates. And, you know, I was talking with Greg and Jen, my roommates, about it, and we were just like, Jen doesn't really care, but me and Greg were like, we're going to get this spoiled. Like, there is no way we're making it to June without, I mean, our DMs, my DMs definitely are open. I don't know about Greg's. Mine are, because we're trying to encourage people to join the Discord. And while like 99% of the people who message me are just like super nice and just want to get in the Discord, who's going to be the 1% who's just going to send me, like, I can mute keywords all I want, but people send stuff on images, so you can't, like, Callie, you were saying that someone commented on your Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten Instagram comment harassment in the past. My DMs have been locked for a very long time. But Instagram comments are one way that people target you when your DMs are closed. And I saw some words, and as soon as I registered that it was about The Last of Us, I was like deleting blindly, like, and then I slammed like a beer, like I was just like erase. Like, I really was like not. So I mean, people are gonna want to ruin things, and it sucks. But I appreciate your sacrifice in getting those.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm like, obviously, it would have been incredible to just experience the story as Naughty Dog intended. But at the same time, for me, spoilers aren't really like the be-all and end-all. I'm still definitely going to play part 2. Like, I'm really invested in those characters. I love what I like, Jake, hearing you talk about what it feels like to play and see all the changes they've made. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. And like, from the sounds of it, I didn't watch anything. I just like saw a few comments and gleaned what happened, and I was like, okay, great. I know it.
Yeah.
But like, from what it sounds like, the scenes that were released were specifically incendiary. Like, they were the things that they knew that the internet would get riled up about, because unfortunately, while a bunch of people are super nice, there are still some wrong-uns out there who just hate other people. So yeah. Like, some of the comments I've had to like go in and delete have been gross, quite frankly. And it's like, it's difficult to even find, you can't just put a word, because they're finding inventive ways of stringing the words together. They're just like, they're super hurtful, and just like, I actually kind of feel sorry for people who live their lives that way. Like, it's gross. But anyway, like, it fucking sucks for the people at Naughty Dog. Imagine working on a game for like at least 7 years, and then just to have someone leak all of that so close to release. Like, I imagine that them pushing it from like the May release date wasn't probably their idea.
Oh yeah, totally. No, I bet Sony was like, hey, we
Yeah.
cannot release this game right now. We're gonna have to put it back.
But
I
also
wanna
like the
say
distribution
Neil
stuff,
Druckmann
like
as such.
yeah, like also the distribution stuff, they can't predict that, they can't control that. Now things have settled down a little bit, you know, it's kind of taken all the wind out of it, and it's like, ugh, yeah, just imagine being that kind of person.
Yeah, I mean, when it happened, I saw lots of people on Twitter complain. Well, I guess I didn't see it myself, but I saw lots of people referencing the fact that a lot of people were canceling their pre-orders and mad because of, I don't want to say too much, but like mad because they found out things that happen in the story and where it goes. And some people were disappointed because it didn't sound exciting enough. And it's like the thing you were saying about it's the journey, not really the end. And I think that is definitely true with the first Last of Us, right?
If
like
it doesn't sound exciting enough, you can make any story sound boring,
yeah,
but with a synopsis.
Yeah.
But that's like with like the original Last of Us, right? Like the whole thing is we just got to get from one side of the country to the other.
Yeah.
But what happens in between is what's so special and incredible about that game.
The performances, the way those
The music.
scenes
Yeah.
are told
God, the
and
music.
played out. Like, because yeah, you're right. Like Last of Us on paper, you're like, oh, it's the road with like zombies. Like it doesn't. The Last of Us doesn't sound that special on paper. I feel like it's when you play it that you like, yes, this is special. All of these elements have come together. It's like
Yes, the
Totally, and-
execution of that concept that is so
Yeah.
good.
And I think like from what I played too, right? Like I played a couple hours and the gameplay was so good that like I mean, obviously I care about the story and I'm very excited to see where it goes, but I don't need this grand story to get me through the game because the gameplay is so good. I like those characters. So I just found it so weird that people were like up in arms about the plot seeming too simple or something like that. Like, it's just like, what? You know nothing about the game other than maybe you've seen these scenes or you've seen someone spoil it. Like, there's like, this is supposed to be Naughty Dog's longest game yet. So I don't know. I feel like there's still a lot more to be excited for, even though, like you're saying, some wrong ones decided to go through and spoil this for people, but it's still it makes me so mad. Like, I'd be so pissed. Like,
I'd be devastated.
And God, I feel bad for Neil Druckmann too, because everything he tweets, people are just harassing him about, why'd you delay the game? Why is this happening? Why can't we play it? Release a demo. Like, I can't believe it. And it's just like, the guy has been, along with his entire team, has been working their ass off on this game. And like, I know there's been a lot of controversy with long hours and whatnot, but this is not a way to get back at them. Like,
yeah, and those people, to be frank, the people who are complaining and harassing him aren't people who care about, like the working
Labor.
conditions.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
care that they didn't get the game early. It's the same thing that happened with No Man's Sky when that game got like delayed like 6 weeks, and people were sending death threats to like Jason Schreier for reporting it, and then
Oh,
the
yeah,
team
I
for
forgot
doing it,
about
and it was
that.
like.
Yeah.
What are you talking? And they're like, this is the greatest game ever, and I'm so excited for it, and I'm gonna murder you because you delayed it. And you're like, that makes no sense. You're a crazy person. Like,
It's honestly
are-
like, have you ever read So You've Been Publicly Shamed
No.
by John Ronson? It's he's a British documentary maker, and he is incredible. He wrote The Psychopath Test and Men Who Stare at Goats and Okja. He wrote a book called So You've Been Publicly Shamed, and honestly, it's like, for me, it's kind of, it's I don't want to be one of those people who's like, this book changed me, but it really made me re-examine how I conduct myself over social media, and because it's just basically a book detailing people whose lives were ruined because of in some cases, seemingly innocuous things. In other cases, the infamous Justine Sacco, the woman who flew on the plane,
that
and
one.
she,
yeah.
before she took off, she said, quote, like, going to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS, JK, I'm white. And then how her life was dismantled by people who would just kind of like get their pitchforks out. And obviously, like, what she tweeted was wrong, and it was gross.
It's a gross tweet.
Gross tweet. But then there were other people in that book who like didn't really tweet anything like that at all. And it's just the way that social media can like really rip apart your life because of people who just want to pick a fight and feel like they're doing something. They feel like they're doing something to kind of police it, I guess. And it's weird, and that's what I assume some of these people who are doing, who are like, well, I don't agree with what's being portrayed in The Last of Us Part 2, so I'm going to try and do my best to stop it and convince other people to cancel their pre-orders, either by spoiling the game for them or... I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's like... I recommend that book.
Yeah,
I just hope...
Really,
Go ahead.
sorry. I was just going to say, you really never know what people will pick up on and torture you over.
I said that the Xbox One's UI was bad years ago, and sometimes people still tweet me about that. And I'm sorry to say, I still think it's bad.
Man, I just hope Neil Druckmann still feels like he wants to make games after this, because he's got such a great voice, and obviously
He's making an HBO show first.
I know he's making an HBO show first, but I hope this doesn't like, because like if I was in his position, I'd be over it. I'd just be like, okay, fuck it. Like I've put so much time into this game that people wanted and they were very excited for, and I'm super proud of it. And now, because of a delay, people are pissed at me. A delay I can't control, and then it gets spoiled, and now I'm getting even more, and now I'm getting barraged over this. And it's just like.
Sometimes I wonder why anyone makes games. I assume that it's like once you cut through the shit that you can get on the internet for creating a game, and you get to see the people who are like, your game changed my life. Yeah. You've got to hope that like that light is what comes through the darkness that can be the internet. Like I remember a COD developer got death threats because they nerfed a sniper rifle or something years ago, and I was like, oh yeah, really? It astounds me that people make games at all.
Yeah, going back to No Man's Sky, the amount of respect I have for Sean Murray is like insane.
They've really turned it around too. Like
they came out on the other side of that in like the best possible way, but like holy crap. Like,
not that he had to turn it around or anything like that, but just the fan response now is like so positive for that game. Like the community, the Reddit community bought a billboard outside their office a couple years ago that just said, "Thank you for making this amazing game. We love you," and stuff like that. And they had no idea, and it's just like, okay, well that's kind of nice to see. But anyway, to continue on to The Last of Us did get a release date. It's coming out on June 19th, and Ghost of Tsushima got delayed about a month to, what is it, July 17th,
I think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so those games are on the way. I'd imagine the Ghost of Tsushima delay was mostly just to give Last of Us enough space to breathe. Speculation, but that would be my guess. But yeah, that's exciting. Mm-hmm. I was worried. I figured Last of Us 2 wasn't going to come out until like fall.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think we were throwing around August, weren't we, when it first got pushed. But I'm glad.
But anyway, listener questions. Do you want to take the first one, Callie?
Sure. Sometime last year, I bought Hyrule Warriors for the Wii U since it was cheap. I found that it wasn't really user-friendly for me as I have a severe visual impairment. The color scheme was a bit too dark, the text was hard to read, and some important text and dialogue would auto-scroll, so I didn't even have time to squint to read it. One thing that I think would make the game more accessible is more voice acting, but asking for something as crazy as that for a small group of people feels like too much. I really think game companies should focus on making games more accessible, but how much is too much? That is from Squishy Pixel on Discord. I have an answer for this.
Yeah. Go.
I think, so the voice acting example, I think that's a really difficult one because of localization. So that's why you don't see a lot of voice acting in certain games, is because that's so much more expensive to then get all that voice acting redone if you want to redub it. However, I think there are other solutions between what Hyrule Warriors offered and voice acting that would make it a lot more accessible. I'm just nearsighted. I don't have like a specific visual impairment. But I also, because of my anxiety, I have a really hard time focusing sometimes. And so games that don't auto scroll are really helpful because sometimes I have to read the text multiple times, or games that have like text logs that you can click into and read back a conversation are really, really helpful. So that's one thing. Bigger text, having text size options, other like sound cues, and then also lighting is one of those things. So like I totally get the question, but I would say that it's not asking too much, because I think making games more accessible improves the experience for everybody. Like I don't need quote unquote need those accessibility options, but that would make the experience better for me too. So it's like you're not really losing when developers add things like that. I think the voice acting example is just one that's like really costly. So maybe that's, I wouldn't say that's asking too much, but maybe that's not something that's as, I was going to say accessible to the developers. I don't want to say accessible. I want to say like achievable, I guess.
Feasible.
It's feasible. But I don't think it's like too much to ask to raise the standards of making something like, I think a game that is accessible, like easy to follow, the text is easy to read. That's just good design. Like, I think that pushes games toward better and better design. So
yeah, I would say oh, sorry. Let you finish.
Oh, I was just going to say one thing I noticed in Animal Crossing that I wanted to mention and forgot to mention as an example of this. It's a minor thing, but the art has differences. And one of them, I thought the difference was just color. And I was like, oh, that kind of sucks if you're colorblind or you can't tell apart blue and purple. But there's actually another difference in the painting that is just like physical. It's not color based. So there's like enough of a difference if maybe you couldn't see different colors. So like something like that, it's like colorblind options is a great example of like, that's like, doesn't seem like a big ask, and lots of games have done it.
Yeah.
Sorry, John Luke.
Oh yeah, sorry, John Luke.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, even an extreme example, I've seen games do like implement like a text to speech where it'll just have like an AI robot like read you menu
Like
names.
Apex, right?
Like Apex does that. And like
mixed business says sorry.
So like as long as there's other creative ways you can have that where it's like, I agree, like at the front they should just have the text be easier to read, but like, you know, they can have things for people who are like, I am basically blind and I need something else that is like, you know, pretty cost effective solution. I always feel like games can do more. And I get that it's like really tough because I feel like a lot of like it's one of those things where it's not malicious. Like I think game developers just don't think about that stuff as often. Like an interesting example is like Outer Worlds. God, I knew it was gonna happen.
2019 still haunting us.
There was like that story about how that game's color palette is the game doesn't have a colorblind mode because the game's color palette naturally works for colorblind people because one of the game's directors is colorblind. And that's a case where, well, they thought about that because one of the creative leads was in that situation and was able to think about that. And I know, like, I think Microsoft has like that really big document they put out.
I was like, gonna say
that accessibility thing, and
we should shout out Microsoft because they are the people who are like, not to say that other game developers aren't, but when John Luke, when you, me, Richard, and Tam went to talk to Rod Ferguson last year, we were talking about like Jack, one of the characters from Gears, but he was saying that like the amount of accessibility options in Gears 5, which are incredible, and Game Maker's Toolkit did a really good video about it, astounding. And he basically said that like they want to take, so he used an example of subtitles. So when you're at the gym or an airport and there's a news report on, there are subtitles, but it's like subtitles were designed for people who were hard of hearing. They weren't built for people who can hear because like they could just hear it. But the fact that it's like, what was it? Solve for one, expand to many, I think was the phrase that he used. And he said that like that's why accessibility is so important at the Coalition and at Microsoft. And they actually do inclusive design sprints at all Microsoft studios. Obviously, they have the adaptive controller, but they work really hard on things like subtitles. They can change colors on subtitles and size so people can read them. And it's just super cool learning about that because it's something that we wouldn't necessarily need or use. But the fact that it's there, I think, was it Ubisoft saying that in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, they put subtitles on by default, and it was something like 90% of people kept them on.
Right.
And and like they do cool things with that too, and like being able to resize your subtitles, and it's to use the Microsoft slogan, like when we all play, we all win kind of thing, and it's just good to see that more companies are embracing that now. So with regard to Hyrule Warriors, they're probably not going to patch that in, but looking ahead, it's something that definitely more game developers are certainly thinking about.
Yeah, and we didn't even mention the adaptive controller for like physical accessibility. Yeah. Like Microsoft has really been crushing it.
Yeah, I think Microsoft specifically, like, I think all developers should think about it, but Microsoft has that like extra like responsibility because they're like a platform holder that they can kind of make that more of a mandate, and they have like, I think they're doing a great job on that, and that's one of the things that I wish Sony did that more. I think Nintendo is pretty hit or miss with accessibility in their games. Sometimes they're good, other times I think they're kind of terrible at it. I think there was a video or a Twitter thread that was like Death Stranding failed like all 5 like tests of like accessibility, like colorblind, like, you know, hard of hearing. Like, it was not great. I think they did actually patch some of that in to make it better. Like, they were hearing those complaints, but like, I'm hoping that more companies like Sony and Nintendo start doing that, like the way Xbox is.
And like Microsoft, like, I think an important thing to note is it's not just Microsoft being like, we should be more accessible. They're like talking to like able gamers and like actually taking into account the experiences of the people who would most benefit from accessibility options. It's not like you can just be like, it'd be cool if we made this better for people who are hard of hearing without actually like consulting with those people, for example. So A+, Microsoft.
All right, next question here. This one's from Didi on Discord. What were your goals? What were your goals when you started your career, and what are they now? Have they changed? This is kind of a big question, and we're running out of time.
I don't think I ever had a specific goal in mind. I think for me it was just I wanted to make cool stuff and be employed. But then, I mean, that's not to say that I'm not ambitious. Like, I'm fortunate enough that I've done a lot of cool things in my career, and I don't ever take that for granted. I wouldn't say I have a 5-year plan. There are things that I would love to do, but right now I'm just having such a good time doing what I'm doing that I haven't really made inroads into getting there, if that makes sense.
I'd say one of my goals that I had when I started at GameSpot, which I knew would take a long time, was start a podcast. Because that was one thing when I had started, there wasn't a podcast. And I remember when I first started working at GameSpot, all I'd do was listen to podcasts. So I just listened to IGN podcasts, and I'd always wonder what happened to all the GameSpot podcasts. And that's something that I think I even brought up on my interview when I first came in. I was like, what happened to that? And they're like, oh, you know, we're figuring out a good way to do it. And there was The Lobby, to be fair, which was a podcast, but I always thought of that more as like a video. Like, I wouldn't just listen to that. I would listen to all the other podcasts, and then I'd go home and watch The Lobby. So I was always like, I want like just an audio only podcast, which is cool that we're doing it. I guess it's not audio only anymore because we do show up on YouTube, but I still would say that this podcast is mostly catered to audio listeners. I could be wrong. If you think I'm wrong, you can let me know and we can see what we can do about that. But I think for the most part, like, this podcast is designed for your ear holes. That's what I got.
I had a really specific goals at the beginning of my career. Like, I specifically wanted to be a Nintendo editor at IGN. I did work at IGN, but they had gotten rid of platform editors, and I was never an editor at IGN. I just wrote a lot. of stuff. I also was very sure I would never have to be on camera because I was a writer and that I was good at writing and not good at camera. So I was just like, oh yeah, that doesn't matter. But then like that was like years and years ago. And then I ended up taking theater classes to improve my confidence in presentation. And then my goal has evolved to just editing things, which I already do. Oh, and then...
and write dope Animal Crossing guides.
Yes, write Animal Crossing guides all day long. I love it. I'm having a great time. Yeah, like when I was a kid, I wanted to write guides, so that's been pretty cool. It's a very Cali-ass thing. And I guess now my goal is to be good at it.
You're great at it. Shut up.
I would say for me, I guess, yeah, like my goal was to like become a video editor and like edit, you know, videos about video games and like, you know, work on live shows and stuff like that. And that's what I got pretty early, honestly. So it has been kind of weird where I feel like I've been thinking a lot about like, oh, like where would I go next? For right now, I think I'm just very satisfied with like constantly trying to find new things to do and like improve myself and like not settle for just like, you know, oh yeah, that's, you know, what I always do. I feel like if I have a week where I'm just kind of like grinding through whatever, it like that's not good enough, and I want to like keep pushing myself to get better, which is what I really like about GameSpot because I feel like it's a great place to do that. So, you know, it's kind of hard to think about where the future will lead, especially right now. But I feel like as long as I'm feeling like I'm pushing myself, then I'm pretty happy where I am.
Cool. Lucy, do you want to read the last question?
Sure, this is from Robert J on the Discord. With companies doing their own online version of E3 for the month of June, do you believe this will result in a decrease of on-site events and promote more Nintendo Direct style, Direct-like presentations / events for the future?
Absolutely.
Yes. I cannot foresee E3 as we knew it happening again. Like,
yeah,
I agree.
It costs an unbelievable amount of money for companies to put on press conferences of that size and magnitude, as well as having booth space on the floor. Like, they would still, I imagine, E3 would become a complete consumer show in the vein of a PAX or an EGX, which is, like, no bad thing at all. Maybe they can find a better balance, like the way the Gamescom handles things. But I can see, like, I don't know, people throwing the traditional PR pipeline out the window and just announcing and doing directs as and when.
Yeah, I mean, the only benefit I can see to an on-site trade show is having control over a demo and not the risk of it leaking. I think that's something that we still do. We go to like on-site appointments at, you know, hotels or whatever to play a demo of a game because like they could technically send us a debug version or something, but when you're multiplying that by like YouTubers and tons of different outlets, the risks go up. And there are certain publishers that do really limit codes that come out and have a lot of strict requirements around those codes. So I could see those kinds of things happening, but not like all at once, like in an E3 setting. I do think like I've been thinking about like work in general evolving because we're all pretty successfully, I would say, telecommuting right now.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of imagining like nothing really going back to 100% the way it was. But I do really see the value in on-site events for like fan events and cons because I do think there's a lot of value to those in-person interactions in that setting.
A celebration of games.
Yeah, but maybe not for... I mean, E3 has already been moving away from the trade show that we went to when we first started in this industry in the last couple of years. So I don't see that. I think that era is kind of over.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't think they'll do like Sony, Xbox are going to do press events or like press shows ever again, just because I think after they do this, they're going to find that just as many people watched and they didn't spend nearly as much money. Mm-hmm. But I could still see an E3 happening where all that stuff is online on their own terms, not live, and then they still have the show floor open, so people in the media, people who want to be there, can still go through, play these games, interact with people, kind of like get a feeling of what fans think of certain games and the directions they're headed, and in that sense, because I think that's still super important. But like a whole audience in a stadium with bands that light up and like plants in there cheering for updates and games and stuff. I don't think that's going to happen again.
Now it'll be all plants because they'll just do it at their company site. So
like
the only people in the staff will be the audience.
Like the Cerny one with the weird fake people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Anything else to add there? I think we covered it.
Oh, well, do you want to talk about our
GameSpot
Play for
Good
All
idea.
segue?
Lucy, take it away.
So obviously with the absence of E3, we decided that it's a great, like, there's still going to be a ton of gaming announcements this summer. And so we are going to be covering those as we normally would. Like we've already announced we're working with CD Projekt Red, Bethesda, 2K, Square Enix, like all the big boys. But we're also going to be using the summer to kind of celebrate gaming and like help make people realize that it's a force for good. And so we're doing a huge charity drive for Direct Relief, who are helping out with COVID relief, getting, protective clothing to people. They have a bunch of stuff that they've stockpiled that they're giving out to people who need it, who to kind of like do COVID relief, I guess. That was a very circular definition. I apologize. But so it's going to be this great mix of like big gaming announcements, and then we're going to be running all these streams with like YouTubers, streamers, gaming personalities, developers, to raise money. And we're going to hopefully make some really cool stuff with a lot of our gaming friends. We would love for you to get involved. So please join us on the GameSpot Discord. DM us for an invite, or email afterdarkpodcast@gamespot.com.
Yeah, the email has been looking kind of dry lately. All our questions have been going straight to Discord. The only emails I get are people asking me to join the Discord, and I'm like, all right, you're in.
But seriously, like, we announced it on Monday, and the reception's been so great. People in the Discord, Daniel Moreno, shout out to him, man. Like, he DM'd me today, and he's made his own kind of poster artwork for Play for All, which is incredible. Like, not only has he used the color, like the branding colors that we're using, but he's also used the Direct Relief stuff too. I'll share it in the Discord. It's really cool, and
it's awesome.
It's so great, and it's like we want to do something to bring people together. Like, I'm trying not to sound hokey about it, but like Rob Handlery should get so many props to this, because like he messaged me and Tam at like 9 p.m. on a weeknight weeks ago, and it was we'd been talking about the Play for All stuff in the background, and he just went, we should do this for charity. Like, screw the gaming side of it, we should just be doing something. Like, we're a huge company, we're a huge website, like we have a great audience, and everyone is kind of getting fucked over by this right now, and like, people are losing jobs, and on top of that, people are like genuinely sick and dying, and like we're in a position where we can help. And so that's been a huge motivator for us, and we're putting together the schedule now, and it's going to be really exciting. So if you want to get involved, Discord.
Yep. And like Lucy said, you can email afterdarkpodcast@gamespot.com, or you can message any of us on Twitter, except for Callie. I don't think they can message you, right?
No,
which is smart.
Tweet at me,
which is smart, because no one can send you Last of the spoilers. But yeah, you can get in touch with any of us. Yeah,
I've got no fear.
And we will get you in there as soon as possible, because like we've said, it's a great community so far, and we'd love to have you in there.
Seriously, I don't think we've had to, like, this is kind of unheard of, I guess, in a huge Discord. Like, and we're growing. Like, I'm not saying that we're like a massive Discord right now, but we are such a nice community that it's like, I haven't seen anything that's been like made me like go, oh, do we need to block that? Oh, do we need to?
Yeah, we
like,
don't have mods yet, and so far I haven't thought like, oh, we should probably have a mod for this, huh? We're gonna need them eventually, but like I'm super impressed with just.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't be that surprised, but I'm just like super stoked at how well things have turned out, because it is definitely nerve-wracking, right? Especially because a lot of us are very easy to reach through there, and that can set off a lot of red flags, right?
But it's like, also like no one's abusing the like the @ here or the @ everyone's or anything.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one who's done an @ here before. I felt
people
bad
are
about
super respectful, but also I'm really enjoying seeing the way that like you get regular faces and then they're so welcoming of new people, and then the way that like different branches of conversation that I wouldn't necessarily have expected to appear in a gaming, like the photography stuff that people are sharing, as well as like there's someone in there who just posts like recipes of things that he's making while he's in isolation, and like recipes. It's so cute, and like it genuinely, like I can't remember who wrote it the other day. I think it was Minute, but he was saying like the Discord's getting so big that it's like I can't keep up now because there's so much going on, which is really nice, and yeah, that's great. Please join.
Yeah, and I really want to shout out really quickly Ryan, RA Madden 13 on Discord, who hooked me up with a T-Rex tail in Animal Crossing, which I needed for my museum display. And they came to my town and really respectful. My flowers are all intact. I had set out like, here's some free stuff. I'll pay you for the T-Rex tail. Like I'll pay you double or whatever. Like asked to shop at my store, asked before buying things. It was sick and it was just a great experience. And like, I'm just really happy that we did the Discord. So.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I kick open the gates, start digging up flowers, buy all your stuff. And I'm just kidding. Anyway, Jean-Luc, where can people find you on Twitter if they do want to message you about the Discord?
You can find me at Jean-Luc Seibke if you want to get on the Discord. Otherwise, I have a potato mode, me and Ben did, on Predator Hunting Grounds, which I was a little worried about. I was like, I don't know if this is going to be a good candidate. It actually ended up being a really great one. We broke that game in some really funny ways that we haven't done with other games, so I'm actually very excited about it.
Crap, I could have talked about Predator. I played it the weekend.
Oh well.
I don't
Maybe
think
real
it'll
motion sick.
We better start over.
I don't think it'll end up in the video at all because of copyright, but that game does have very long like wait times.
Yeah.
So in between the wait times, I just opened up Chrome and we watched like the Predator musical video and like Predator AMVs, and I think like Max is going to be the only one. It was like, this is for Max to enjoy while and he messaged me being like, Predator musical is awesome. Thank you for that. Maybe he'll sneak that in there somewhere.
Callie, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter at InkyDojiko, INKYDOJIKKO. And as always, I'm as always for the past month and a half, I'm working on Animal Crossing guides all the time. Please support them because I'm very proud of them and I'm really excited to be writing guides and I want to be able to help people learn stuff about Animal Crossing. And also on the reviews front, because that is my actual job, we had a lot of stuff go up, XCOM, Gears Tactics, but also we will have a review of Predator Hunting Grounds. We just reviewed Fallout 76 Wastelanders. We're going to have an updated review for Rainbow Six Siege up probably by the time that this podcast is up. So look forward to that. We do like, we've done one for Warframe, just a games that have changed significantly since their initial release, games that we're passionate about, and reviews that we want to put out to say like, hey, this game has changed a lot. In our opinion of it has changed a lot since the original review. So the original review is still there. Not
the
replaced.
Overwatch re-review will be a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, right.
You're not going to let me do that.
It's already a 9. Yeah, but Rainbow Six Siege was, I think, a 6 originally, and it has changed.
It was an 8.
It was an 8? I thought it was a 6.
Yeah, it was an 8.
Well, still, it has changed a lot since release. Lots of additions, but also lots of like structural changes to the game. So look forward
Actually,
to
it may have been a 7. Sorry, it could have been a 7.
It wasn't like it doesn't match. It doesn't match.
It's
the
a
stats.
very different game.
Yeah.
Than it was now.
the staff opinion of it has changed. Like
Totally.
it doesn't match like our assessment of the game, which is the idea behind updated reviews. So that's my spiel on that.
All right, and Lucy.
I am on Twitter at LucyJamesGames. I've been working on an evolution of Assassin's Creed video, which will be up now if you want to go check it out. It's all about how the gameplay of the series has evolved, because it's been 13 years since the first one, and now I feel like the Crypt Keeper. But I've been working on that. I've been doing... I'm on You Should Be Watching this week with Gary Witter and Chastity and Ryan talking about fantasy films. So, of course, they got me on to talk about Lord of the Rings and The Princess Bride. Westworld, it is the finale this weekend, so expect our breakdown on Monday on GameSpot Universe. And I've been doing Good News Gaming, which is out today too, and also like news videos every Monday. Come get all your news. I'm doing a lot. It's fun.
Yeah. Now I'm going to follow you up with like one thing. You can find me at Jacob Deck, and what have I been doing? I did a Gears Tactics tips video. So if you've played a lot of Gears but never played a tactics game, that's the video for you. You should check it out. Other than that, I started working on a very big project that I don't want to say what it is yet because I don't know when it'll be done, but it's going to be long. It's going to be a big one, and it's something I'm very passionate about, and I'm very excited. So I will update about that in the future.
Definitely about
God
anime.
damn, the podcast's over. It's done. See you next week. Bye. But yeah, keep that in mind. I'll update in this podcast as we go, but that should be exciting. And then other than that, I'm cutting the review for Siege. So.
And you did a Fallout video.
Oh yeah, I did a Fallout video last week too.
For 76, we should.
Yeah, Fallout 76. But anyway, we'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.